1.
Welcome to another week of Fragments of Silicon reviews. This time around, we've got two games. First up is Old Time Hockey. Well, maybe 1.5 games. I'm not exactly sure how to define the second review, but we'll get to that when we get to that. First up is Old Time Hockey. We did an interview with the creators of the game, V7 Entertainment, about 2 weeks ago now? Maybe a week and a half? So, yeah, fairly recent. And, yeah, they gave us codes, as mentioned. We weren't able to play the game in time for the interview, but we certainly have played it for the review. Maybe not as much as we expected. And I don't know. Everybody here seems to be on the same page who played it. And I guess we should get right into it. The controls are weird.
They're not intuitive at all.
For starters, this game has literally 12 different control schemes.
Yeah. Although it looks like you can
of which it suggests one of 4.
Yeah. It's but the default control scheme, and indeed the one that they were touting in our interview and elsewhere, was the 2-button controls.
In my experience, and I think you guys all agree with me, is that does not give you enough control over what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, this game is kind of in a rock and a hard place, or something like akin to that, because, okay.
This is their control scheme that's supposed to be approachable to new players.
Yeah.
And it would be in theory, because the advanced control scheme has every button on the standard Xbox controller doing something different, and that can be hard to remember. But the 2-button control scheme is hard to make your characters actually do anything.
Yeah. It's also the advanced control scheme. Some of the functionality only works in certain situations, I think juking, or there was one body ability that was only available when the puck was on fire.
Yeah, but backwards skating and deking, I didn't see any options for on. Yeah. The easy controls. Yeah. You can't really aim your shots except for sort of where you're facing. It tries to do smart shots, but I'm not sure how it decides what to do. Yeah.
So. Yeah, and so it's it essentially screwed itself over in a most unexpected way. Because
and all of the gameplay tips that the game had, which I looked at because I was doing terribly. I got into a fight and I couldn't make anything work. Mm-hmm. All the gameplay tips are about how to use the advanced controls. So I suspect that it's probably better if you know how to play the game and use those.
Yeah, and remember, this game isn't going for simulation. It's not, it's trying to be a throwback to everything from Blades of Steel and ice hockey on the NES to NHL Rock the Rink and Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey on the PlayStation and N64.
Yeah, this is more arcade-like than it is simulation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the thing is, it's kind of stuck in the middle, is what we're getting at. In fact, I'm not sure if anyone else kind of discovered this, but in the graphic options, there are settings for 16 and 8 bits uh, graphics.
I saw that, but I didn't try it.
Yeah, it warns you that, all the text is going to be hard to read in these modes. So that kind of deterred me. I'm like,
yeah, if you're gonna put that in your game, make it so that you can read the text.
That's kind of emblematic of the big problem with this game. Everything's kind of half-cocked, and therefore it comes out half-baked.
Yeah, there are a lot of options. Like, there are rules modes where you can, like, choose whether or not to have offsides and icing penalties and stuff, but I felt pretty unprepared to do that as someone who doesn't know much about hockey because there was nothing that really explained what those was. I went into story mode, and one of the first matches options or win requirements, because you don't always have to win the game to succeed in story mode.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to do, like in the first game, the first game does require you to win it because your team is like almost eliminated or something. But you have to win by at least 2. You have to injure a certain guy who apparently is designated, even though I missed the designation for it.
Having played a few home games, the objectives are randomized.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like.
Anyway, and one of them was like chained together 5 slashes or something that I didn't know what was.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, aside from the fact that I was doing terrible because I kept losing track of who I was controlling whenever I didn't have the puck,
yeah.
I figured there was no way for me to win because I literally didn't know what one of the objectives meant.
Yeah.
So, once again, that's kind of the stuck between two worlds. I mean, the whole game is designed to be a throwback to, going back to the interview, not just the old hockey video games, but the way hockey was in the 80s and the 70s.
Yeah.
When it was really hard hitting, really professionally unprofessional, if you will.
When you could get away with being on the ice without a helmet on.
Back when a severe concussion and 5 lost teeth was not a reason to stop playing.
Yeah, it's like, and it's also, going for a very small town Canada feel. It's also a love letter to the movie Slapshot. Not a surprise, but it's worth stating. The point is, it wants to have its cake and eat it too, and it really can't handle it because, on the one hand, it wants to be the kind of game adored by, very hardcore hockey fanatics.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, it also wants to be accessible to, a newer generation of hockey fans that obviously probably weren't even alive when, like, the PlayStation and the N64 were new or whatever. It's like, it's got it's got a casual mode. It's got, hell, it's also designed around, you can also play the game one-handed, beer drinking mode, which makes sense in context, but it's probably, a very gimmicky mode. I'll be honest, I was having enough problems with just 2 buttons. One seemed like a worse option.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like, I think this game mostly fails at being approachable to new players. I suspect that to people who are longtime fans of hockey video games and of hockey, this might be a better game than it was to any of us.
Right. Now, the control scheme is a partial failing because the 2-button hockey, the 2-button mode is the default mode, but there are plenty of control options. You can adjust that. Where the game failed for me was the speed. This hockey,
it's kind of slow.
Yeah, this game felt so sluggish, and that's what killed it for me. Because as somebody who, like, once again, who has played arcade style hockey games and quite enjoyed them, you kind of expect things to be fast.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and the game just kind of goes at a much more leisurely pace than you'd expect. Maybe that was. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but
I will say that was the one thing that kind of made it user friendly to me as a person who's terrible at hockey and stuff.
Yeah, it's just
I could always tell where the puck was, which is a thing that sometimes you lose track of in hockey. Unfortunately, when the puck was not on my team, sometimes the guy I was controlling was off screen, I think.
Yeah.
Like you get a star under the guy who's controlling it, and whenever the guy you're controlling when you guys have the puck is always the guy that you're controlling.
Right.
But I think when the other team gets the puck, it doesn't change, and I couldn't figure out how to change it.
Yeah, apparently that's the A button.
Okay.
Yeah, and and that's really disappointing for me because I really wanted this to be a revival of the arcade style hockey that we haven't seen since perhaps probably the PlayStation 2 generation. But I'm like, and I suppose the ultimate point here is old time hockey just feels too sim and not enough arcade. I mean, now maybe maybe people who are much more into hockey games will disagree. But that's kind of where the game is from my perspective.
Yeah.
And it's a very shame because I like the aesthetics. I like the culture that's been built into the game. It's like not just like the teams and which are. I'm trying to remember if he said that those were real small town teams.
I think he said they made them up, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm like, because these are supposed to be like very small Canadian towns, and I'll be honest, checking to see if there's really a Schuylkill.
That brand of beer or that location is real, and there is a brewery there.
Yeah, it's like,
it's the name is Dutch, which is why it's completely unpronounceable.
Right. I'm like, I'm pretty sure. I wouldn't be surprised if they are real, but it's definitely something that we would have to look up because, well, they're small Canadian towns.
Actually, that one is in Pennsylvania.
Like, okay, they're small North American towns.
Apparently, it's pronounced Schuylkill.
Yeah, the Schuylkill Hinto Brews, which is the the protagonist of the story mode, and it's like, and in story mode,
I'm pretty sure the teams are fictional, but like they're from real or based on real places sometimes. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, but I don't think we've covered the worst section of this game yet, and that was the penalty fights, which again is very disappointing because one of the selling points of this game was
you get into fights.
Yeah, it's like, and you could get into very bloody fights, but when I got into a fight, I pressed buttons, they didn't do anything.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was that might work better in non-casual controller mode.
Possibly.
I honestly have no idea.
Yeah, and we all had problems with this mode.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and that's the other thing. Like, we all had the same problems in the same areas. Wow. Anyway, Petty Fan, you're playing the game right now for the stream. So, what's your perspective on old time hockey?
For one, there's a lot of things it could use, like when switching players on defense, let me actually pick them instead of the computer actually picking it. Because like there are times that there are two people near the puck, but it goes to somebody who's not even on screen.
Yeah, that was another major pain for me. It's like there's no good way to select team members.
Yeah, like it'd be nice if they either gave me an auto select or let me press and hold the button and then it just put an arrow over somebody's head. And like, oh, I wanted to go to that guy.
Yeah, same.
And also, like, the auto shot system is weird. Face-offs, I haven't fully figured out how to win those.
It's a timing thing. You're supposed to hit the button like right when the official drops the puck. But again, there are rules for how to do that.
Yeah.
With the advanced control scheme in the game hints, which involves like you have to angle the stick toward your other players, but in casual mode it's a button press, and I think it's just timing.
It's the button press for switching players.
Now, going back to other arcade-style hockey games, this wasn't all of them, but one of the appeals of like Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey, the Midway sports games were not just about arcade action. It was about you didn't have to deal with as many rules as the actual games did.
Yeah.
After I get done with the Smash, I'm actually going to show the rule book thing in game.
And this game does allow you to sort of select what rules you are playing by.
Right. But like I said, it's just that weird. It's oddly faithful to that to the rule sets and everything, yet wants to, embrace the old traditions where those rules might not necessarily existed.
Well, I don't think there's an option to play by the rule of if you get in a fight, you get kicked off or whatever. But
yeah, there's not. There's. It's not. Nobody's getting a spinal fracture in this game. Or anything. No, it's like the violence hasn't been cranked up to realistic levels.
Yeah, nor is it like Mortal Kombat where you can like break somebody's fucking neck with a stick or whatever.
Right. It's pretty brutal. It's more brutal than what you would see in an NHL game for sure.
Yeah. Well, at least the modern ones.
But it's it's not aiming for true realistic 1970s action where like you had people pile driving people on the fucking ice or whatever.
Yeah. Where it was that you went to a fight and a hockey game broke up, as our guest said.
Yes.
I'm still vaguely disappointed this isn't a hockey-themed fighting game.
Maybe the sequel.
Like, I don't know. Like I said, considering how bad the penalty fights are, I'm kind of glad that didn't happen.
Well, obviously, if it was a fighting game, there would have been more put into those. I'm talking about like having special moves, like chucking pucks at people that you summon out of thin air.
Well, yeah, like I said, this game tries to do an approximation of that style with the on fire, but like the puck is sometimes on fire and you can ignite the goal, and that's right out of fucking Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey.
And NBA Jam did that with basketball.
Yeah, which I was about to say in turn was from NBA Jam. Unfortunately, I don't really recall the on fire thing doing much in old time hockey here.
I think it just makes the puck move faster when you shoot a little bit. And also, if you make a goal, the goal burns up.
I think it might have some other things to do, like in terms of passing or being intercepted or whatever.
Probably. Like, let's see. I mean, now the graphics, they're actually pretty stylized. You know, and I'm talking about the modern graphics. You know, like I said, I don't think anyone here actually checked out the retro features because
I can try and turn that on. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's turn that on and see what happens because
that's in settings, right?
Yeah, I think actually I think you have to exit out of the game and
Yeah, I was looking for a windowed mode and I set a lower resolution and I got slightly weird graphics and I wanted to change it. I couldn't find a way to change it without exiting out.
Yeah, that's another little minor problem. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, and I didn't want to do that because the first time I opened the game, I must have clicked on the background or something while it was loading because it crashed, but it worked the second time. So.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, the graphics aren't an actual throwback to, say, the N64 days. Thank God.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, it's like, but they are
to fix that.
To
change the graphics.
I think so.
Yeah, it's like when you exit out and go back in, it should be there. Like, hopefully. I mean, there were some times when that didn't happen. Sometimes when it did, it was kind of inconsistent. I'll be honest.
Yeah, not the tightest. The game opened a little bit weirdly, so.
Okay. So 16-bit. Let's see what that is.
Yeah, bear with us. And if you're listening to the podcast version, well, this might be a bit awkward because, we are demonstrating.
So it looks like it might just be really small.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like,
which is slightly disappointing.
Yeah.
Like that seems to be the story of this game. It's like everything just ends up a lot more disappointing than it should be. And that's really frustrating because I really wanted to like this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
Same.
It's like, I like this style of sports game. Not just hockey, but, I played NFL Blitz. I played NBA Jam. Like, I maybe not so much red card soccer, but, I really enjoyed the arcade takes on.
Yeah, this is just making it smaller.
But they were easier to control than this was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it just means like 16-bit resolution.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's like I can definitely see the 16-bitness here, but yeah, it's not a full-on.
It's not like they changed the sprite graphics and whatnot.
Yeah, it's like no wonder the text is. It's like, okay, that's once again that's kind of a half measure.
Yeah.
I mean, I can definitely see the 16-bit
Yeah, I can't play this. This is way too small.
Yeah, but I'm like, it's also those weren't it's like nobody wants to play in 16-bit resolutions.
Mm-hmm. Now, if it was actually,
they want to play with
16-bit
16-bit graphics in bigger resolutions.
Yeah, it's like. Unfortunately, I think that would have required too much work for what they were going for.
Probably. Honestly, the game might have been better if it was just a sprite.
All right, let's see what 8-bit mode has to entail.
Oh, please, God.
I'm sure it's just incredibly tiny.
My controller's not working. The game's crashed.
Oh, that... Mm-hmm. That's just
the joys of doing it live, folks.
Yeah, I'm like... Oh... Yeah. Anyway, so, yeah, graphics, fidelity aside... it's all about invocation. Like, it's invoking, that small town amateur 70s hockey team.
Yeah, now it's on 8-bit, and no. The
there's
window's even smaller than 16.
Whoa.
Yeah, you see it?
This is... I'm like, okay, this doesn't even make sense because like 8-bit resolution and 16-bit resolution were not that fucking different.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, it was kind of based all around CRTs. Like even PlayStation 2 games had roughly the same resolution.
Isn't the PlayStation 2 32-bit? But whatever.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about actual screen resolution. They were built for low-res CRTs.
Right. No, yeah, I know what you mean.
It's like I do think 16-bit is a bit bigger, but if you played it on a 18-inch screen TV, you get the same size.
Right. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Anyway, so something we haven't talked about yet is the music, and well, there's two varieties. There's the menu music, which is a pretty eclectic mix of songs, if I'm being honest. There, indie rock and odes to old time hockey, and the in-game music, which is a lot of organ pipe.
Because it's a hockey rink.
Yeah, it's because it's a hockey rink, and that's there was a lot of playing of the Addams Family tune for some reason.
I noticed that.
No, that happens at sports games.
I know, it's just kind of off. It's just kind of off-putting.
The reason why it's popular is because it's easy for drunk people in the stands to stomp along with.
I get that. It's just it's still it might be like the only piece of actual licensed music in this game. I'm honestly not sure if because some of the songs here feel like they were made for the game, like the actual old time hockey song. They do have a song that sounds very close to, but is not actually the Pulp Fiction theme.
It's legally distinct enough not to get sued.
I mean, I did enjoy the music even as I was having difficulties playing.
So did I.
It's really on point for a retro feeling hockey game that tries to make you feel like you're all actually in like a cheap small town hockey arena.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I think where this game puts its best foot forward is in all the presentation. It's just the gameplay not so much, and story mode. I'll be honest, I hated story mode.
Yeah.
Because honestly, it didn't make any fucking sense. Because story mode isn't based around winning or losing. It's based around meeting these weird ass objectives. And if you don't fill in your not just your primary objective. I got like the primary objective in the game, but I didn't get the secondary objectives, and I still failed the game.
Yeah, I guess the goal is to make the season happen, quote unquote, right. So that injuries you have to inflict might have things come up later. But if you say it's randomized, I don't know how that works.
I think the primary goal isn't randomized, but the secondary goals are.
Okay.
And it's still making me, scratch my head when winning and losing don't matter, because like the story is you're in last place. The way the underdog story goes is, okay, this is the point where they start winning the games so they can get to the playoffs so they can win the championship.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to win some games, and then the margin you have to win by varies.
Yeah. But
yeah.
That's kind of that's anathema to an actual story mode. That's not the story. Like, okay, if the story is hurting people, that's an additional thing. But I'm like, the fact that wins and losses don't always matter, I don't get it. I'm like, I really don't. Like, and even the injury angle, it's like, okay, I have to injure, like the first game out, I have to injure one person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, how does that stop another team from progressing? Like there are alternates for this very reason.
Mm-hmm.
I assume they're supposed to be like particularly good players or players who are particularly good at a certain thing.
Like I said, but that kind of exposes things. Story mode isn't an actual story; it's a mere framework, and it's pretty damn arbitrary.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I really appreciate what this game was going for, but I don't think they quite hit the mark in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I'm like, it's a good college try. It's like, but I can't say that. I can't say that I would have felt good had I paid money for this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it might be better, again, if for people who are experienced with hockey games and with hockey itself.
So,
but then, Adam, you said you played these some, so.
Yeah, like I said, it's, I guess if I had to sum it up, by trying to cater to strangely everyone, it's not really catering to anyone. And so finally we come to price. Old Time Hockey will run you about $12. I'm like I said,
I don't think that's that bad. I mean, it does have a story mode and competitive mode and all that stuff, but
in terms of content, I think it's there. In terms of presentation and production values, it's there.
I guess what I'm thinking is, if you're gonna like the game at all, that's a good price for it. If you're not gonna like the game at all, then there's no price that it would be good at.
That's a good summation of things.
Yeah, if you have zero interest at all in hockey, then this isn't for you.
Yeah,
this isn't going to magically make you become a hockey fan.
Or if your interests lie in, say, modern hockey or the NHL, don't look here. Because it's not those, and it's never going to be those. It's like, I don't think the NHL would ever license something like this. Well, at least if they're anything like the NFL. Like, I mean, that's the reason why NFL Blitz kind of died. The NFL was starting to get concerned about the fact that this game was not following the rules and was a lot more hard hitting than what real football was.
Because that makes for better drama, and it doesn't matter what happens during a season when you're playing virtually, as opposed to, if players get their legs broken in real life, that can ruin their careers.
It was a whole image thing.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah, I think we need to. I really think that we need to have less simulate. I mean, I'm not as a sports game fan, but I think we need to have less simulation-y sports games.
Yeah,
or at least it exist at the same time.
Yeah, it's just like one of the problems with like sports games is that if you're not licensed, you're not nothing. These days, which is why Old Time Hockey here is a digital release with a modest budget.
Yeah, a digital release from an indie studio.
Yeah, whereas back in say the late '90s, early 2000s, these were actual AAA releases that competed with the actual sim products. So, yeah, what a difference a few decades make. Anyway, so I think that'll about do it for Old Time Hockey.
Yeah.
Right, so be sure to tune in next for Shovel Knight, Spectre of Torment.
Oh man, Shovel Knights.
Yeah, I'm like, and until such time as we return, which it kind of depends on certain members getting back to the bathroom, I wish you good gaming.